very long time. Does not play a ton of constructed, but definitely will come out to any large limited event in the area.
And for good reason. He is at 8-0 with his 5-color deck as we are underway here for the final game of this match.
All right, let's do the gold card check here.
Saw Malka only on 8 basic lands and huge number of non-basics. Looks like just 9 of them. So over half his deck is non-basic. Still found room for this turn 2 Jeskai Student, however, probably keeping himself honest against a lot of these aggro decks. This guy has come out of the board in this matchup.
And that's a really just good fundamental understanding of the matchup here. Sol needs to block because once his mana gets online, he's going to overpower Gabriel most likely.
Yeah, when you look at the gold cards that he has chosen to end the game with, there is not too much in the way of a bomb. The only real good creature he has here is the Butcher of the Horde. That guy certainly is solid, though.
And Gabriel with a Butcher of the Horde of his own.
So once again, Rare's fighting another. We had Doom Blast crossing each other last round, and this one's going to be Butcher of the Hordes. So Malka played Abzan Falconer. It became a 3-4. Jeskai Student swings in for 1. Right now, he's the aggro deck. I don't think that's the role he expected to see himself in.
But he'll take it. You know, when your beatdown opponent misses on turn 2, misses on turn 3, and Sol's curve here is great. I mean, this is a spectacular opening. He's got to be really thrilled with the way this game's shaping up so far.
Yep, plays a morph for the turn, passes back. One thing that his deck does do pretty well is it has removal at all the right spots. You see Malka's deck has triple debilitating injury, 1 murderous cut, a pair of bring low, and then a pretty good curve of creatures. Warname, Aspirant, Mardu, War Shrieker. He's a little more aggro than you might have expected him to be.
See if Gabriel can catch up here. He is way behind. So there is the Highland Mantis there. A quality threat, but not clear if Gabriel's going to have the opportunity to block this turn. And if nothing else, the Falconer gets a free shot.
And we see here Unyielding Krumar from Sol continues to commit creatures to the board. He actually has some difficulty getting through this Highland Mantis.
So now he has a second enabled attacker.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about what Malka has done with his deck, he's actually playing a large number of dual lands that are off color. He actually has a Tranquil Cove and 3 Rugged Highlands, so that's blue-white and 3 green-red duels. But he's just playing Mardu. He has 1 card off Mardu, and that's a morph for Abzan Guide. Otherwise, he's just a Mardu deck. Actually believing that a come into play tapped land that gains a life may just be better than a basic.
You also get a lot of ability to bluff when you have these random off-color lands scattered about, because most people assume that you're not playing it just as a basic land that comes into play tapped and gains 1 life.
And we see Ash Cloud Phoenix face up here for Gabriel Rogasner. And this is a card we have yet to see on camera today, but this guy is a beating.
It is multiple good deals.
Yeah, so it's a 4/1 flyer. And if that wasn't good enough, it's nearly unkillable. When it dies, as long as it was face up, it comes back face down. For 6 mana, you can turn it face up again, and when it does, it hits both players for 2.
So the way to kill this is that you need to turn it face down and then kill it with a removal spell, because if you kill it as a morph, it just dies. Utter End is another answer to it because it exiles.
And we see Suspension Field from Sol. Malka will take care of the Highland Mantis, which, because he has white colorless up, he could swing his Unyielding Krumar into the Phoenix. But that can be blocked by Disowned Ancestor. So Sol's still, despite having a lot of creatures, is left without good attacks right now.
And Gabriel still, as good of a start as Sol got off to here, Gabriel's still a pretty high 15 life points, so Sol can't be too aggressive pushing stuff in just yet.
Yeah, what he is going to try to do is outlast Gabriel's deck. Abzan Falconer moves his way up to a 4/5. That is one way to get through an Ash Cloud Phoenix, is to simply be bigger than it.
But it looked like Gabriel was in all sorts of trouble the way the earlier games of this match shaped up. And he's by no means stabilized, but for as bleak as it was looking, he's doing just fine.
Yeah, if he has a way to kill this Abzan Falconer, he should be in a great position. There are some removal spells for him. He has a Murderous Cut in his 75. or in his 40 rather. So, and that's in his deck.
And there it is.
All right, Murderous Cut will take care of the Falconer. How safe does Gabriel feel? Does he swing the Phoenix? Probably not yet.
Seems like a very aggressive attack there. He's taking at least 3 points of damage on the way back, assuming that he blocks the Krumar, and that block exposes him to potential combat tricks. So,
yeah, he has Sultai Scavenger in his hand as well, along with what looks like Shambling Attendants. A lot of really expensive delve cards here. You know, between the Cut, the Scavenger, and the Attendants, really could use more of a graveyard.
I don't mind hanging back for just a turn here.
Well, especially with these large delve cards, you'd have to think that time favors Gabriel. Now, there is one thing that could trip him up. Saul does have a Feat of Resistance in his hand, but not going to use it just yet. Going to continue to fill up the board. This is with Alabaster Kieran, 2/3 Flying Vigilance. A lot of ways to trade with that Phoenix. Fewer ways to kill it.
He can't kill it, and the pace of the match is very slow, and Gabriel has access to 6 mana to unmorph the Phoenix, which means that Soul is not really in a position just yet to make a move.
All right, and this is a face-up Grim Haruspex cast by Gabriel. Grim Haruspex is, we've seen it used to a really great effect, and I just want to point out the synergy that this card has with Ash Cloud Phoenix.
That is some combo action right there. I mean,
right.
this tandem in play means that Soul really can't make a move. I mean, if the Phoenix is back on defense, he can't attack, and if the Phoenix is on offense, it's really hard for him to block.
Huge fan of this 2-card combo. 1 rare plus 1 mythic. Yeah, when the Phoenix dies, it will come back as a morph, and Gabriel will get to draw a card. And while he could, so that makes it really bad for Saul to block the Phoenix, but Saul can't really attack. You see, Gabriel's played a second Disowned Ancestor. He's just gumming up the ground with these 0/4s.
The Kieran's a safe attacker.
All right, Kieran's safe attacker, but it's not going to race the Phoenix.
No. And Saul's still waiting on red mana here.
Yeah, you see he has a copy of Abzan Guide in his hand. It's the one, it's a very light green splash for that. Plays Mystic Monastery. No blue in his deck, just playing it for the white-red half.
And now the rest of his hand probably starts getting unlocked here.
Yeah, another morph, but that was land 5. And we'll see Gabriel continues the attacks from Ash Cloud Phoenix. No trades yet by Saul, and now it is 13 all. Right now, Gabriel casts, he still needs an answer for the Alabaster Kieran, and he may just have that with Sultai Scavenger.
So he can use this, plus the Murderous Cut in his graveyard, and then he can outlast, to pay this for 5, and then outlast to one of his Disowned Ancestors.
Yep.
Or he can just pay full retail if he doesn't really want to outlast just yet.
Well, the thing is that last card in his hand is Shambling Attendants, then that card in his graveyard is a pretty good resource for him.
And it doesn't really seem like it's that much difference between having a 0/4 and having a 1/5 against Saul's board of 2/2s and 3/3s and 1/3s. It blocks about as effectively, so
yeah,
rather save it for the real prize here, which is the 3/5.
And we'll see where Saul goes with this. He has a debilitating injury. That'll take care of the Haruspex. Combo is now offline, but another card's in Gabriel's graveyard. 2 cards remain in Malka's hand. They are Abzan Guide and Feat of Resistance. So he looks for a way to punch through. The big cincher, though, is we need to know what those 2 morphs are. Actually, yeah, Abzan Guides. I believe one of these morphs is Abzan Guide, actually. I think that was morphed down last turn. Last card is a Jeskai Student. And Saul's going to swing. Sultai Scavenger's going to go ahead and block the Kieran. He puts an 0/4, the 0/4s in front of one of the morphs and the Unyielding Krumar. This is going to get the Feat of Resistance from Malka. You'd imagine it'll kill the bird.
Yeah, that seems like where you would want to go here.
And it does. +1/+1 and Pro Black. Still a candidate for best combat trick. The card is, every time I see it cast, it feels about like this.
Yes. Even when it's not spectacular, it's still great.
And maybe the game's going to go toward Malka. He has the board, Gabriel's board, whittled down here. We'll see what Rogasner has. 2 cards remain. One's Shambling Attendants. That'll be a pretty big play if it's what he has.
Though the game may have shifted to the point where Gabriel has to start contemplating leaving this Phoenix back on defense.
Yeah, it's Plains and Attendants. This is going to be Shambling Attendants. getting rid of one of those cards in his graveyard. 3/5 Death Touch. This guy is a literal brick wall.
It is moat.
Yeah, it's the best answer to it is another Death Toucher. Outside of that, this guy's impossible to attack through.
Throttle is another good card to have in response to this because you can attack, they'll probably block, you can throttle it.
Sure.
But if you're just allowed to have this thing in play uncontested, it's really hard to attack.
A draw from Malka, pretty powerful here. I believe it is as one of copy of Crackling Doom. It would kill the Phoenix, but by killing the Phoenix and attacking Gabriel, remember when that Phoenix flips back up, both players take 2. That's a cost that Gabriel may not be able to pay.
Yeah, because the Crackling Doom knocks Gabriel down to 7.
Right.
The attack from the Kieran then knocks him down to 4.
So the flip up puts him to 1, and Malka has more creatures than Gabriel
he may
right
just
now.
be able to push through the last couple points.
See there, Crackling Doom all over on the left. 2 damage to each opponent, and they sacrificed their biggest creature. A little bit better. Sacrifice a creature with the greatest power. Pretty good here. It almost becomes a targeted kill spell. You know, like, if you think about it, more often than not, you want to kill their biggest creature anyway.
This is a rare exception where I think Malka would probably prefer to get the Shambling Tendons off the board, but this is still a great tempo play.
Yeah. And he's actually going to swing the entire turn right now, which that means Gabriel's going to take 1 on this attack, I believe. Actually, this is an interesting... I'm interested by this attack.
Well, I think, Gabriel might just be saying, I have to give up this Phoenix. I can't flip this back up, so I just have to trade.
Yeah.
I like this block. I like this block a lot. He still needs to answer the flyer, but in terms of identifying where the game's at, this is a non-intuitive block. But as you mentioned, that Phoenix really can't be flipped back up.
Gabriel goes down to 4 off this attack. Can't block the Alabaster Kieran. But it does mean we're in a situation that if Gabriel finds an answer for Alabaster Kieran, he's good for now.
He may, in fact, be able to start attacking very soon.
Draw was a black card from him. See what he has that can answer. Not too much right away. He has a copy of Keru Bloodsucker. That could gain him a ton of life. May allow him to actually race the Alabaster Kieran.
I think that might be it.
Yeah, if we can get that card. We haven't seen too much of that card today, but it's good.
It's an oddball.
In this situation, it can be quite good. It looks like Gabriel's going to swing Shambling Attendants first here to push some damage. Keru Bloodsucker is going to make this into a race.
For sure. Saul can't be thrilled about the attack coming in because it means that Gabriel has something good.
And there is the Vampire here. And that guy is very hard to race against. He's pretty mana intensive, but he is quite good with a pair of Disowned Ancestors.
And Saul has to be very careful about getting himself not killed on the way back.
Yeah. Saul down to 10 from the Shambling Attendants. He's going to go ahead and swing the Kieran. That puts Gabriel down to 1. And here's Keru Bloodsucker. So whenever any of Gabriel's other creatures die, because they have toughness 4 or greater, he's going to drain Saul for 2 points, and on top of that, give the Bloodsucker a 1/1 counter. Play for the turn there was Sage-Eye Harrier for Malka. 4 points of flying in the air means that Gabriel's going to have to activate the Bloodsucker twice.
So the Bloodsucker becomes a 4/4 here if he sacrifices twice and drains for 4. So 4 damage plus 4 damage plus 3 damage. So Saul is not facing lethal this turn, even if Gabriel sacrifices everything.
So he has 10 points to go.
10.
Yeah.
So then 6 from the drains plus, the 2 creatures that Gabriel can attack with here do represent a lethal attack. If Gabriel sacrifices the 2 copies of Disowned Ancestors that he has in play. So Saul is, it's a game. This is very close.
Saul's going to have to chump block. He chumps with Jeskai Student. He couldn't let the Shambling Attendants through there. And I think Saul's behind here. I think he's actually on the wrong side of this race.
Well, right now he's attacking for, well,
Nothing. He's just attacking in the air. The Disowned Ancestors get everything else. They block the guys on the ground, and Karu Bloodsucker actually gets to eat one of the attackers as he becomes a 4/4 after the 2 sacrifices. Gabriel is locked into sacking 2 guys.
Yes.
Here, and that's the downside.
And then it may free up Saul the next turn to start really attacking with his ground creatures.
But his life points, Saul's life points are very precious here as well. You see a swing for 4 in the air. Gabriel's going to have to double sack here. This Bloodsucker eats both the Disowned Ancestors, becomes a 4/4. Gabriel gains 4, goes up to 5. Saul goes down to 6. Then Gabriel takes 4 again, back down to 1. And interestingly, Bloodsucker does trigger off himself now that he's a 4/4. It's not whenever another creature.
But it sacrifices another creature. It can't sacrifice itself.
Oh, okay. It can't eat itself.
They don't. The Wizards very rarely designs cards like that anymore.
Flavor-wise, it really doesn't make sense for guys to want to eat themselves.
It's not intuitive from a play perspective or a flavor perspective.
Tap land from Saul Malka brings him up to 7. Gabriel has a 7 power worth of attackers here. But right now, it does look like if Gabriel swings, Saul can chump with both the ground creatures, swing back in the air, and Gabriel does not have enough life gain.
If he draws a 4-times creature or removal spell, this all changes. Although not even, yes, if he draws a removal spell, he's fine because he can then sacrifice the Shambling Attendant as 1 more trigger.
Right, he could kill the
close.
Kieran.
If Gabriel drew something of substance here, he may be able to sneak this out. If he missed, he's dead.
I want to say the most interesting draw, and I think the one he has is Debilitating Injury. It'll certainly put a lot of pressure on Saul to block correctly.
I have to imagine Saul's just chump blocking with his ground creatures.
So if he doesn't, he has to, right? He can't let Bloodsucker through because then Gabriel will eat the Shambling Attendants. Bloodsucker becomes a 5/5. That's 5 + 2. That's 7.
Yeah.
So Bloodsucker has to be blocked. Question is whether or not Saul can let through Shambling Attendants.
So 3, it represents 5 points of damage in essence because you have 3 coming through plus the sacrifice. So what are the 2 points of damage cards you're worried about in this spot? Also, I suppose if there's a pump spell that's +2, that could kill you. It looks like Saul's just playing as conservatively as possible here and just running the double chumps.
Yep, 2 chumps. Both guys hit the graveyard. We'll see what is Rogasner's last card. If it is Debilitating Injury, he just has to put it on the Kieran and run with that.
Yes, and then he has to sacrifice the Shambling Attendant, and then
he's still not in a good spot. He still needs another top deck after that.
Yeah.
What a close race right now between these 2 players, both in the Mardu mirror here, playing for 9-0. Yeah, and it is Debilitating Injury. And Gabriel would really like to put this on the Harrier if he could afford to. It would probably be stronger.
Well, I think you would want to put it on the Vigilance creature, right? And make the one thing with power have to commit to offense or defense.
Sure. Yeah, well now they're both down to 1s. Saul's going to swing them both. It's going to force Gabriel to sacrifice his own Shambling Attendants. And it could be just enough damage. That's the thing. Gabriel would sack it, go to 1. Malka would go to 5. Malka would chump, but then he'd have 1 more power in the air. As it stands, if both players draw lands, Malka gets there.
Yes.
But so many little things can change that. Even a tap land on Gabriel's side would change this race.
And now the game is also in a spot where Feat of Resistance represents a kill for Gabriel because he's going to have a 5/5 creature with Malka at exactly 5 and with only white creatures to block.
Yeah, so a lot of outs here. We'll see. Looks like Malka will go on the offensive. That locks Rogasner into sacrificing the Shambling Attendants. He does so. Goes up to 3, Malka down to 5. This Bloodsucker becomes a 5/5.
It's a really nice game to finish off our day with, huh?
This is great. I'm a huge fan.
This has been a great game.
Yeah. So up to 3, back down to 1. All right. Malka passes the turn. What's going on here? What can Gabriel draw? Is it a land? It is not. It's a spell. It's a black card.
I mean, if it's Throttle, which I believe it is, that works just fine here.
And some timely top decks maybe here for Rogasner. And he swings. It'll be chumped by the Kieran.
So I suppose not throttle.
Well, if you throttle, you have to do it on Malka's turn. That's a 1-5 bird. Swings, and it is throttle. He shrinks it down to 0 power, takes 0 this turn. Malka needs a blocker. Does he have it?
But why not go for the Kieran last turn and just go for the kill? Why?
No, I see it. Yeah.
I mean, you're only giving Malka one more draw step.
I agree.
And whatever trick you're playing around, he probably beats you with the next turn anyway, if it's something like Feat of Resistance or whatever the case may be.
Well, a slight misstep, perhaps. We'll see whether or not Malka does have a creature or a way to stop this Bloodsucker from swinging in for 5. He has 4 mana, so he's going to have something. And it is Bitter Revelation.
Yeah, he just has to find something now. His draws were, appears land and then Bitter Revelation. So any chump blocker, again, is fine.
Going to go down to 3. A land, and some white spell.
Is it castable? Is it castable, and can it block?
So he's going to mill 2 lands. He goes down to 3 here. Yeah, is it castable? Can it block? We'll see. Just needs to be a white 2-drop. And what a tense finals here. I believe it might be Defiant Strike. And it is. Defiant Strike on the Harrier. He draws. Does he hit something? It's Bloodmark Mentor. That's going to be no help. And I believe that he's going to gain a life here, but I believe this is going to go to Rogasner.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to just barely finish this off.
And what a comeback here. Karu Bloodsucker swings for those last points of damage. And we have a... Oh, yeah.
Make him sweat it out.
He makes him taps as though he had the murderous cut, but he does not. And there you have it, Gabriel Rogasner at 9-0. He is one of your undefeated players here on day 1.
An incredible comeback there, because I thought he was done before the game even got under the way there, really. Malka had an explosive curve, but didn't have enough tricks to punch through Gabriel's defenses once he got set up, and just enough little synergies going on. The Bloodsucker, we haven't seen a lot of it. It's an awkward one, but it was the perfect card for the way that game played out.
Yeah.